Be prepared. It's almost here. Most people didn't see it coming, but you felt it all along. This eclipse will not wait for you to be ready. Most people will just look up, snap a picture, and treat it like another sky show. But if you go in unprepared, the blood moon won't just pass over you. It will sweep you under it. This energy does not stay neutral. You either harness it or it harnesses you. And once it locks onto you, the pull is undeniable. You're not here by accident. You're already feeling it. And that means you're one of the few meant to stand in it awake. But if you think you've already seen what this eclipse can do, you're about to find out why this one is nothing like the others. But what almost everyone gets wrong about this eclipse is just how far its true intentions really reach. The eclipse is not your enemy, it's your accelerator. Yes, it shakes, yes, it overwhelms, but its purpose isn't to break you down. It's to tear open the space where growth has been waiting. If you know how to approach it, this blood moon will lift you further than months of effort ever could. But if you walk blind into it, you'll miss the chance completely. For energy-sensitive souls, this eclipse isn't optional, it's a doorway. Step through it, and you'll never look at these alignments the same way again. Most people are scared of being wrong, but the eclipse doesn't care about your doubts. This is the one time you should dare to write down the wildest, most unlikely thing you sense could happen in your life this month. Don't play it safe. Don't censor yourself. Just let the first outrageous thought that flashes in your mind hit the page. Why? Because eclipses don't just pull tides, they pull intuition out of hiding. The energy window around a blood moon has always been tied to prophecy, foresight, and sudden visions. When you capture those flashes instead of ignoring them, you give them shape. You anchor them into reality. Think about it. How many times have you had a sudden gut feeling only to shrug it off, and then it happens? This is your chance to stop dismissing your own power. The eclipse makes the hidden visible, and that includes the messages your own spirit has been whispering. Prophecy is not about predicting the future. It's about recognizing it before anyone else does. If you commit to this ritual now, you may discover in the days ahead that the impossible you wrote down wasn't so impossible after all. Everyone wants to look strong under an eclipse. Everyone wants to pretend they're unshakable, that they've got it all figured out. But here's the truth. The eclipse doesn't respond to your mask. It responds to your shadow. And if you keep that shadow hidden, it owns you. The real power move tonight isn't in hiding your fears. It's in dragging them out into the open. Say them out loud, not just in your head where they fester, but with your voice, with breath, with sound. Speak them to yourself in the mirror. Whisper them in the dark. Record them on a voice note if you have to. It doesn't matter if it feels ridiculous. What matters is that the shadow is no longer locked inside you. Anything you can name out loud loses the power to secretly control you. Think about how many times you've carried the same insecurity without ever daring to speak it. I'm not enough. People don't really care about me. I'll probably fail anyway. These silent scripts run your life more than you realize. But the eclipse doesn't want the polished version of you. It demands the raw one. When you speak it, you break the contract of silence that keeps you chained. And don't mistake this for weakness. This is war strategy. You're shining a light on your enemy before it sneaks up on you. When you call it out, whether it's fear of rejection, fear of being alone, fear of never reaching your potential, you rob it of the element of surprise. There's something primal about hearing your own voice speak the very words you're ashamed of. At first, it stings. Then, strangely, it softens. You realize it's just a thought, not a prophecy, just an echo, not a verdict. Your shadow can only haunt you in silence. Once spoken, it becomes nothing but air. By doing this before the blood moon rises, you immunize yourself. You stop the eclipse from amplifying what you've been avoiding. You set the terms instead of being blindsided. And when the shadow finally passes over the earth, you'll feel something rare, calm. Not because you had nothing to fear, but because you proved to yourself that your fear can't hold you hostage once it's been dragged into the open. The shadow of the eclipse doesn't only mark the sky, it marks you. That's why tonight is the perfect time to see yourself beyond it, to project into the version of you that steps out once the shadow fades. Take a moment, close your eyes, and imagine it clearly. What do you look like? How do you carry yourself? What has changed? Your mind doesn't treat imagination as fantasy, it stores it, it memorizes it, and it begins to shape your choices to line up with that image. This is why athletes visualize victory before the game, and why rituals across cultures have always used imagery to carve reality. See it now, and you will walk toward it without even realizing. Don't settle for vague pictures, get specific. Do you see yourself more confident, more free, more successful, or more untouchable to the chaos around you? Paint it with detail, because the more vivid it is, the easier it is for the eclipse energy to charge it into existence. This is not daydreaming. This is aligning your future self with the most powerful lunar event of the year. And once you've seen who you are after the eclipse, there's no way to go back to who you were before. The night before, a blood moon eclipse can feel overwhelming. Too much energy, too many voices telling you what to release, what to manifest, what to protect yourself from. The sky itself becomes loud. And when everything feels chaotic, the most powerful ritual is not adding more noise. It's choosing one word, one anchor, one compass. Your word is not random. It's a spell, a thread you hold in your hand that keeps you steady no matter what the night throws at you. And here's the secret. The eclipse doesn't respond to endless affirmations, it responds to focus. Maybe your word is boldness, maybe it's clarity, maybe it's release or trust. The choice is yours, and the right one usually scares you a little, because deep down, your word is the very energy you've been avoiding. That's why it feels so electric when it finally comes to you. One word, repeated with intention, can shape the direction of a lifetime. Here's how it works. Every time your thoughts start drifting into fear, chaos, or doubt, you whisper your word. Every time you feel the eclipse pressing down like a weight, you bring yourself back with your word. It becomes your personal shield, your reset button. No crystals required, no complicated setup, just you and a sound. And don't underestimate sound. Ancient traditions treated words as sacred forces. Mantras, chants, incantations, they weren't just poetry, they were precision tools for guiding energy. Tonight, your word is your mantra, your incantation, your compass. Take it further. Write your word on a piece of paper and keep it in your pocket. Carve it into a candle. Whisper it into a glass of water before you drink. The more senses you tie to it, the more your body memorizes it as reality. Here's where it gets eerie. Once you carry this word into the eclipse, you'll start noticing the world bending toward it. If your word is clarity, you'll overhear conversations that reveal hidden truths. If it's trust, you'll feel calm, even when others are anxious. If it's boldness, you'll shock yourself by saying things you never thought you'd dare to. It won't just guide you through tonight. It will follow you for days, weeks, even months. because the eclipse magnifies what you feed it. And if you give it your word, it etches it deep into your path. Words don't just describe reality, they decide it. And here's the real test. When things get tense tonight, when your emotions spike or your patience thins, that's when your word will either save you or vanish. Catch yourself. Use it. Say it like you mean it. That's when the magic happens, not when everything is calm, but when you're tempted to lose yourself. So tonight, don't chase every ritual. Don't get lost in a dozen techniques. Choose your word. Hold it. Repeat it until it carves itself into your bones. Because when the moon darkens and the sky shifts, that single choice might be the difference between being swept into the storm and steering it. When people think about preparing for an eclipse, they almost always focus on what they need to release, what's heavy, what's broken, what's holding them back. But here's the truth. If all you do is stare into the shadows, you forget about the sparks. And tonight, under a blood moon, it's not just about what's leaving. It's about what's already working in your life, what's already shining. So before the shadow falls, recall your wins, all of them. Not just the obvious milestones, not just the achievements that make sense to others, but the private ones, the subtle ones, the strange ones. Did you trust your intuition and avoid a situation that could have gone wrong? That's a win. Did you finally rest when your body told you to, instead of pushing through? That's a win. Did you have a conversation where, for the first time, you spoke your truth instead of holding back? That's a win. Did you laugh when you thought you had no reason to? That's one of the greatest wins of all. Luck isn't random, it's the memory of every win you dared to notice. The funny thing is, the universe doesn't just expand on what you want, it expands on what you notice. If you only notice the problems, you get more of them. If you notice the hidden victories, even the odd, silly, or invisible ones, you invite the universe to multiply them. So sit for a moment and let them come back to you. Maybe you handled a situation better than you would have a year ago. Maybe you forgave yourself faster. Maybe you showed up for someone else when they didn't even know they needed it. Wins don't have to be loud. Sometimes the smallest, quietest victories are the ones that shift your entire path. And here's the twist most people miss. Eclipses thrive on the unexpected. That means your strangest wins are the ones the eclipse energy loves most. The moment nobody else would have called success, the decision you thought was too small to matter, the secret discipline you've been keeping to yourself. These are the sparks that catch fire under a blood moon. So don't just remember them. Say them out loud. Write them down. Toast to them if you have to. Make them real. Because the more you give them recognition, the more power they gain in your story. Every victory you honor tonight becomes the seed of a bigger one tomorrow. This is not about bragging. This is not about proving yourself. This is about anchoring into the truth that you're not starting from scratch. You're already in motion. You're already surrounded by evidence that you're moving forward, even if no one else sees it. Tonight isn't about waiting for miracles to fall out of the sky. It's about realizing you've been stacking them quietly all along. And once you remember that, the blood moon doesn't just reset your energy, it amplifies your momentum. Resentment is heavy. Guilt is heavier. And when the eclipse comes, it doesn't make that weight disappear. It multiplies it. Lunar shadows work like mirrors, and whatever you've buried, whatever you've refused to release, gets reflected back to you in magnified form. That's why forgiveness under an eclipse isn't a luxury, it's survival. Think about the one person, the one situation, or maybe even the one regret that still clings to you like smoke. The wound that you keep replaying, even when you don't want to. Maybe it's someone who betrayed you. Maybe it's yourself for a mistake you can't let go of. Maybe it's an apology you'll never hear, but you still ache for. Those things do not just sit quietly inside you. They leak, they slow you down, and during an eclipse, they get louder. Forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about letting yourself out of the cage. Here's the mistake most people make. They think forgiveness means saying what happened was okay. It doesn't. It means saying, I won't carry this weight anymore. You don't have to excuse them. You don't have to forget. You don't even need to feel warm toward them. The ritual is the decision itself. The moment you set down the stone you've been dragging. Try this. Close your eyes and bring that memory, that face, or that regret into your mind. Don't avoid it. Don't sugarcoat it. See it clearly. And then, under the energy of this eclipse, say the words, I release you. I forgive this. I refuse to carry it into the shadow with me. And yes, it may feel fake at first. Your emotions may not match the words, but forgiveness often begins as a choice, not a feeling. The feeling comes later, once the grip starts to loosen. To make it physical, write their name or the memory on paper. Burn it in a candle flame, bury it in the soil, drown it in water. Watch it disappear in real time. Your body needs that act. It makes forgiveness more than an idea. It makes it a reality. Here's something most people don't realize. When you hold on to resentment, you tie yourself to the very person or moment you want freedom from. You give it a leash into your present. Forgiveness cuts that leash. It's not about them. It's about finally walking without dragging the ghost behind you. To forgive is to reclaim the energy you once gave to your pain. And forgiveness isn't always just for others. Sometimes the hardest forgiveness is for yourself. Maybe it's for trusting the wrong person. Maybe it's for wasting time. Maybe it's for missing signs you wish you'd seen. But here's the truth. If you don't forgive yourself, every eclipse, every new beginning will still feel tainted. You'll keep punishing yourself when the punishment has already ended. So tonight, look in the mirror and say, I forgive you. Say it, even if you don't believe it yet. Because if you can't offer yourself that release, no ritual in the world will ever feel complete. And here's the paradox. When you forgive what haunts you, you don't lose strength. You gain it. Forgiveness doesn't make you soft, it makes you untouchable. Because the very thing that once controlled you no longer has leverage. You take back your energy, your focus, your future. So tonight, under the blood moon, don't just set intentions for what you want. Set down what you no longer need to carry. Forgive the person, the memory, or the version of yourself that has haunted you the longest. Because when the shadow finally lifts and the moon reveals itself again, you'll feel something rare. Lightness. Not because the past disappeared, but because it no longer owns you. And that is the true power of eclipse forgiveness. Every eclipse comes with shadows in the sky, but tonight, the real shadow you have to face is the one inside your own mind. Nothing holds you back more than the belief you keep repeating to yourself. That quiet, poisonous sentence that whispers, I'm always unlucky, or I'll never be good enough, or people never take me seriously. And here's the truth. Those beliefs are not facts. They're choices you've repeated so many times. They started to feel permanent. But the eclipse doesn't care about permanence. It's here to wipe the slate clean if you're brave enough to pick up the eraser. Your biggest prison has always been the story you keep telling yourself. So tonight, before the shadow crosses the moon, drag that belief into the light. Write it down if you have to. Name it. Don't let it hide in the background of your thoughts anymore. Because once you see it clearly, you can do the unthinkable, you can replace it, challenge it, shatter it. If the voice says, "I'm unlucky," then you replace it with, "I'm the one opportunities find." If it says, "Nobody listens to me," you declare, "My voice shifts the energy in every room I enter." If it says, "I'll never break free," you respond with, "I'm already walking out of the cage." This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about finally realizing that your old beliefs were the lie all along. And under the blood moon, lies can't survive. Here's what makes this moment so powerful. Eclipses reset the rhythm of your inner world. Whatever you plant in your mind right now doesn't just echo for tonight, it threads into the days, weeks, even months ahead. The belief you choose to erase tonight is gone for good. And the bold new thought you replace it with becomes the lens through which you see everything else. Change the belief, and you change the future that belief would have created. So don't waste this. Don't settle for surface-level affirmations or soft words. Pick the belief that's been chaining you the longest, the one you're terrified to admit out loud, and let this eclipse burn it away. Step into the night carrying the bolder truth, because once the shadow passes, you'll never see yourself or the world the same way again. There's one thing almost everyone overlooks when an eclipse approaches, and it's not crystals, it's not rituals, it's not some complicated alignment. It's the words that leave your mouth. Every time you complain, you're declaring to the universe, "I accept this version of reality." And when the eclipse magnifies energy, those little complaints about the traffic, about your phone, about someone else's attitude, become anchors. They weigh you down right when the sky is begging you to rise. Complaints are tiny prayers for things you don't want. That's why tonight you're going to play a different game. From this moment until the eclipse ends, you make a vow. No complaints. None. Not even the small ones you mutter without thinking. It sounds simple, but don't underestimate it. Try going a full evening without releasing a single word of negativity, and you'll feel the strange power that builds inside you. Because here's the secret. Complaining isn't harmless. It leaks your energy in real time. It convinces your mind to expect more of the same. It blocks the exact synchronicities you're hoping this eclipse will bring. When you stop feeding it, all that attention flows somewhere else, into opportunity, into clarity, into actual attraction of the things you want. Think of it like this. If the eclipse is a magnifying glass, every complaint is like setting fire to dry leaves. The flames spread faster than you realize. But when you refuse to feed the fire, when you hold your silence or choose to redirect your words, the magnifying glass shifts towards something else, your vision, your intentions, your hidden luck, and make it playful. Catch yourself before the words slip out. Smile at how tempting it is. Notice how your mind scrambles to fill the gap when you don't default to negativity. Suddenly, you're forced to look for something else to say. And that's when gratitude sneaks in, when wonder sneaks in, when new thoughts arrive. Every time you resist the urge to complain, you reclaim a piece of your power. By the time the eclipse shadow lifts, you'll feel it. A lightness, an odd sense of clarity. Not because the world around you changed, but because you stopped feeding the world you didn't want. And in that silence, in that refusal, the eclipse will have nothing left to magnify but the surprises waiting for you. This is why tonight matters so much, because if you don't interrupt the cycle now, the eclipse will etch it deeper into your path and you'll feel the weight of it for weeks to come. An unchecked habit is not just something you do, it becomes something that does you. Think about the one thing that drags you down the most. Maybe it's the endless scrolling that leaves you drained, the self-talk that turns every thought into an insult, or the toxic comfort you reach for when you're afraid to face silence. It doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to be yours. That one habit you know keeps you stuck, but you still return to like clockwork. Tonight, before the moon darkens, you get one chance to interrupt it, not to fix your whole life in one sitting, not to suddenly become perfect, but to create a fracture in the cycle. To stand up and say, "Not this time." Because once you do, the eclipse energy will meet you halfway. It will lock in your disruption, not your destruction. This is why eclipses are feared and worshipped in equal measure. They don't let you coast. They either trap you in your old rhythm or they catapult you into a new one. Which side you fall on depends entirely on the choice you make tonight. So here's the challenge. Name your most destructive habit right now. Don't avoid it. Don't minimize it. Call it out by name. And then, before the eclipse shadow falls, disrupt it in any way you can. If you always scroll before bed, put the phone in another room. If you drown in negative self-talk, write down the words and burn the page. If you numb yourself with something toxic, replace it for one night with something your future self would thank you for. Habits are spells you cast on yourself. The eclipse decides which ones get carved into stone. You can't afford to let the wrong spell anchor itself tonight. This is your reset point. If you break the chain now, the energy of the eclipse doesn't reinforce the old habit, it helps bury it. And from that burial, something completely new is born. Let's make something very clear. You are meant to guide this eclipse. You are meant to shape your energy. And yes, you are meant to try to change things for the better. That's the whole point of preparing. But here's where people get trapped, trying to control every single detail, every outcome, every twist. You can aim the arrow, but you cannot command exactly where the wind will carry it. The eclipse doesn't ask you to stop aiming. It asks you to stop demanding 100% control. And that's the balance. The rituals you've done tonight matter. The word you've chosen, the beliefs you've erased, the vows you've made, all of that is you shaping the direction. That is real power. But if you demand that life follows your script to the dot, the eclipse will break your grip. Because the truth is, if you could control everything 100%, you'd only get the future your current mind can imagine. And that would shut out all the bigger, wilder, better possibilities the eclipse is trying to deliver. So yes, aim, set the intention, make the vow, visualize the outcome. All of that is necessary. But after you do, you must leave room for the unknown. Because if you don't, you'll miss the version of your future that's larger than the one you wrote. So as the shadow passes, remember this. You've done your part. You've shaped the arrow, you've aimed it. Now let the blood moon carry it where you could never take it alone. Because the outcome may not look exactly like you scripted, it may be even better. If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.